Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here to share my TBR for the All the World's a Page readathon. That is the Shakespeare-themed readathon that I am hosting along with Julia from Shakespeare and Such and Olivia from Olivia's Catastrophe. I will link both of their information and announcements down below, as well as my own announcement in case you haven't heard of this, but it is happening for the whole month of July. We are all very excited about it, and I'm going to talk about the books I hope to read. Also, once again, I have had to open my window because it is so unbelievably hot in here, so I'm very sorry if you can hear traffic noises. Hopefully it won't be too distracting. So of the three paths, I have chosen the advanced path along with the bonus challenges because that's just who I am. And the first challenge for the advanced path is to read a play or retelling outside of your comfort zone. And for that one, I have chosen The Taming of the Shrew by Stephanie Kate Strom. This is a contemporary retelling of Taming of the Shrew, which is one of my least favorite Shakespeare plays. And I think this one is set at a summer camp. Oh, it says it's a summer apprentice program of a Shakespeare theater company, which has me even more excited. I don't really like camp stories that much, but theater companies, very excited. And I think our main character, I think her roommate or her friend, like, falls for this guy who is just, like, really awful. And our main character, Cass, is, like, to help her friend, she's gonna kind of give the guy a, like, I guess personality makeover so that he's, like, worthy of her friend. And then I assume that she starts liking him too. The premise of this one actually reminds me more of Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw than of Taming of the Shrew, but I'm really interested to see how those things are done. Yeah, I'm very excited about this one. And by the way, for the out of your comfort zone prompt, you can interpret that a lot of different ways. You could do a retelling of a play you don't like I did. You could do a play of Shakespeare's from your least read genre of his. Basically, however you want to take that. And then the second challenge is to read a historical retelling, and that's another one you could kind of interpret differently. Like, you could read a retelling that is set in the time period that the actual play was supposed to be set in. You could read a retelling that's just historical fiction in general. And for this one, I'm doing Under a Dancing Star by Laura Wood. This is a retelling of Much Ado About Nothing, which is tied for my favorite Shakespeare play. I absolutely love it. Laura Wood wrote A Sky Painted Gold, which was one of my favorite books of, I think it was 2 years ago. I absolutely adored it. I have had this book for like a year now, and I've been saving it, which is stupid. And I'm kind of scared to read it, which is also stupid because I'm just like, it seems like something I should love because it's my favorite Shakespeare play. The author wrote a book that I absolutely adore. It's set in Italy. Also, this has nothing to do with the contents of the book, but this has to be one of the most stunning covers I've ever seen. So I have just been like putting this book off, but I really, really want to finally get to it. And I'm counting this for the historical prompt because it is historical fiction. I think it's set in 1930s, but I'm going to count it because it's historical fiction, and also it's set in Italy, which is where Much Ado About Nothing is supposed to have taken place. That was the setting for the play, even though he kind of just wrote like he was in England all the time. The third challenge is to read a speculative retelling, so that can be sci-fi, fantasy, magical realism, or fabulism, anything like that. And I have two options for this one. I probably should go with The Queen's Eminence Lear by Tessa Gratton. This is a King Lear retelling, and I've heard really good things about it. My friend Huck absolutely loved this, and I just feel like I'm going to really appreciate the character work and the world building. And this is also on my retelling, is it retelling bingo, I think? I still haven't posted that video, I'm sorry. So I do definitely want to read this year, so probably should read this during the month and actually continue making progress on that list. But depending on what I'm in the mood for, like the one I'm actually feeling more drawn to right now is Bright Smoke, Cold Fire by Rosamund Hodge. This is the first book in a duology, and it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling. And I think, is there like necromancy in this, which I'm not usually a fan of, but I really love Rosamund Hodge's books, and I feel like I could really enjoy this one. This gets really, really bad reviews, but I'm still like tentatively optimistic because Rosamund Hodge just seems like a very polarizing author in general, and I have read two of her novels and her short story collection, and I have loved all of them. So I'm hoping that even though a lot of people don't like this one, the fact that I really love her other books might mean that I would enjoy this. We'll see. But yeah, I don't really remember much about the premise of this one, except like that there are like necromancers or some kind of like the dead rising or something like that, which again, I don't often enjoy, but the rest of the premise appealed to me enough. I'm trying to like scan this so I can give you a better summary, but I feel like there's too much to sum up, so I'm not gonna try. But yeah, this one I'm like feeling more drawn to pick up right now, so maybe I'll read this one instead of the one that I actually should read. Or maybe I'll read them both, I don't know. Then we have like a set of kind of bonus challenges, which you can mix in however you want. By the way, like we said that in the announcement videos, but just feel free to pick and choose from any of these challenges or ignore the challenges or whatever. Yeah, like mix and match however you want. So I'm also going to be doing the bonus challenges, and the first bonus challenge is to read retellings of 3 different plays or in 3 different genres. And I think pretty much whatever I pick, I will definitely have that covered, so I'm not worried about that one. The next bonus challenge is to read a work of nonfiction or critical analysis or something like that based on Shakespeare or his work. And I have 2 options for that one. I'm not really sure which I'll go with. The first one I have is Women of Will, The Remarkable Evolution of Shakespeare's Female Characters by Tina Packer, who is the founding artistic director of Shakespeare and Company, which is pretty cool. And this is, I think, an examination of the female characters in Shakespeare's work, and I think specifically kind of charting their growth and how he started to write more and more complex women, which definitely sounds like something I'd be interested in. And then my other pick for this challenge is The Quest for Shakespeare by Joseph Pierce, and I actually got this as a present last year for Christmas, I think. Maybe. I think this most recent Christmas is when I got this for my family. And this is kind of trying to figure out what Shakespeare's like personal beliefs were, which is something we talked a lot about in my Shakespeare classes I have taken, is like considering how like famous and important he was. We actually know very little about his personal life, and I think this is going to be kind of examining that and trying to see if we can draw conclusions from that. And this has gotten very, very good reviews, so I'm really interested in that. And then the last challenge is to read something that could be considered source material for one of his plays. So for a lot of Shakespeare's plays, he actually adapted existing stories. Julie gave a really good suggestion, which is like if you want to read the story of Pyramus and Thisbe, that is referenced in Midsummer Night's Dream, and they actually like, there's characters who put on a play of that, so that would be a really cool one. If you want to read any other playwright's version of a story that Shakespeare told, things like that. Or what I'm gonna do, if you want to read like a biography or a book about like a historical figure that he wrote a play about, and that's what I'm going to do. And that is Cleopatra: A Life by Stacy Schiff. This was a present from my mom and my sister for my birthday, and I absolutely adore Cleopatra with my whole heart. I find her so interesting. I've heard really, really good things about this from my friend Yvette, so I'm very excited to get to this. And this counts for this challenge because one of Shakespeare's plays is Antony and Cleopatra, so that's what I'm going to be reading for this challenge, and I'm very excited about it. And I also might be buddy reading this with my friend Kier from Kier the Scrivener. We talked about possibly doing that, so I don't know if she'll be like ready to get to it by July, but that might also happen. So if so, really excited about that. So those are technically all the challenges covered, but I thought I would also just show the other Shakespeare related books that I have on my physical TBR, because there's only a few more that I haven't talked about, and who knows, I might pick some of those up instead or in addition to. And I actually own more Shakespeare retellings than just these ones, but I actually still have some of my books packed away and inaccessible to me. So this is going to be essentially what I have access to now from my physical TBR that is Shakespeare related. And the first one I have is Match Me If You Can by Tiana Smith. This is another one I might prioritize because this is also on my, I think it's 2020 Retelling Bingo Challenge. And this is a contemporary retelling of A Midsummer Night's Dream. And I don't want to read too much about this one because I feel like I've heard like it doesn't have great reviews, and sometimes when I know that, I just want to not even like read the synopsis or anything so that I have as much chance to be pleasantly surprised as possible. So all I really know about it is that it is a contemporary Midsummer Night's Dream retelling, and I think it really plays up the like romance kind of mix-ups and drama, which I'm really excited about actually. So maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised by this one. I feel like Midsummer Night's Dream is one of the most underappreciated Shakespeare plays. Like, I just do. I think it's great. And then another book I have is Always Never Yours by Emily Wibberley and Austin Siegmund Broca. So this is not exactly a retelling, but I think it's one of those where like there's the play Romeo and Juliet going on in the book, and there are some similarities between the characters' lives and what's happening in the play. And I actually heard from somebody, I think it was Alana from the Book Nerd, that this is sort of a contemporary reimagining of Rosalind's character, who is a very, very minor character in Romeo and Juliet. I don't think she even gets a line. I don't know if you even see her on stage actually. But in this book, we follow our main character Megan, who every time she dates a boy, they end up breaking up, and then he finds his like true love right after that. And that's all I really know. I've heard great things about these authors, and I love that they write Shakespeare-inspired contemporaries. The book they wrote after this is a contemporary reimagining of Taming of the Shrew, which the way, like the direction that they're going to go with it, from what I heard, sounds amazing. So I definitely want to pick up that one after this. So very excited for this one. I also have this really cool like Tales from Shakespeare illustrated edition by Charles and Mary Lamb, and I think there's a variety of illustrators. So Arthur Rackham, who is one of my favorites, W. Paget, and Robert Anning Bell. And this is essentially like turning Shakespeare's plays into like fairy tales, I think. And I kind of flicked through it, and I was pretty favorably impressed by the way that they've managed to like convey a sense of Shakespeare's language without just like translating directly all of his dialogue into this. And obviously it's going to be like much shorter. I'm sure they're going to have to cut stuff out, which normally I don't like abridged editions of things, but I feel like because this is going to be, it's almost like a different story, just turning it into a like tale almost instead of a play. I am hopeful about this one, so maybe I'll pick up that. And then the last one I have here is not exactly a retelling, but it's If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is a mystery thriller kind of like atmospheric story that I've heard really good things about, and I know it takes place at a like Shakespeare theater or like Shakespeare conservatory program, which honestly that's the part I'm most excited about. Not so much the actual thriller aspects, because I like don't tend to really get along with thrillers, but I remember when Julia read this, she said that she really wants to go to this Shakespeare conservatory program, or maybe it's like for an MFA, I don't remember. yeah, classical conservatory, and that's the part that I expect to really love about this. So yeah, might read this one. Okay everybody, so those are my reading plans for the All the World's a Page readathon in July. I honestly don't know which of these I will pick from. Like the ones I showed you at the beginning are kind of like the ones I'm planning on, but honestly, we'll see how I'm feeling. Some of these I didn't plan to get to are looking real good. So I don't know, maybe I'll try and read all of them because we do have a whole month. Please comment down below and let me know if you have read and enjoyed any of these books, or if you're participating in All the World's a Page. Let me know what track you're going for, or a book you hope to read, or anything like that. I will put all of the information, like all of our recommendations videos, and the Google Doc, and our Intro to Shakespeare videos, like anything related to the readathon, including the Twitter account, will be in the description. So remember to tag us over on Twitter if you do any content related to the readathon. We are all super excited about this, and we're really hoping that this can kind of get people a little less intimidated to try Shakespeare or to get back into Shakespeare, because that was one of the things that we really wanted to communicate with this readathon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!